Hey there folks, it's your boy Bank coming at you with a new hack video. This time it's a two-player co-op mode for X-Men vs. Street Fighter. And it's basically done. I'm going to show you everything and explain a little bit about the hack. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to tell what buttons I'm pressing. You just got to take my word for it until you play it yourself. But right now I'm using player 1's controls. I'm going to pick Juggernaut. Now with those same controls, pressing buttons and the stick, it does nothing. I have to use player 2 to select the second character. So I'll take Ken, and I used player 2. This is player 1. So now, also I removed player 2 start. So you can only start the game by pressing first player start. So now I'm using first player's controls to control Juggernaut, and now if I hit hard punch and hard kick together to change to Ken, now it's player 2's controls instead. So, I mean, pretty simple, straightforward. I was searching for, I think I saw something about there was a Marvel 1 co-op mod, basically like this, but it was from 2007, it doesn't exist, or like it's lost to the ages. So I started working on this like last night, and I basically did it in 4 or 5 hours. However, it's not complete, because one thing I want to do is I'll show you in vanilla X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Where's ROMs here? If we look at the original game, the one thing left that I want to do is fast forward. So this is vanilla. This is not my hack. If second player comes in, it makes this purple like cursor icon. I want to make it so that on the co-op hack, once the first player selects their character, the blue 1P cursor disappears and this 2P pink one shows up. So that's what I'm working on right now. So let's change this back. Original hack, and I'll show you how this works. So conceptually, we don't need coins because well, that's not a good way to explain it. Let me think. So here's the binary. This is a decrypted, because Capcom CPS2 is encrypted. So this is like the program, and normally this is only 512 kilobytes. It's really small. Normally, if you go to the end of an arcade ROM, it'll be filled with blank. It'll be filled with FFFFF, and there'll be like a lot of FFFF because they didn't fill up the entire ROM chip. In this case, for X-Men vs. Street Fighter, there's no room. So I had to find some place to get room to do my hacking stuff. So where did I do that? We can look at Ghidra. It's the coin function, because all of this logic is all related to coins. This is until the end. This, you can see, this is the C function. So because for example, in the settings, you can go to like not here. Where is it? 2 coins to start, 1 coin to continue, 9 coins, 1 credit, all that logic is contained, I think, within this block from here to here. It's 2 functions. So we don't need that, and I need this space. So what I did was I replaced, I went through and figured out how all this works, and I replaced this. This runs every single frame. So if we take this breakpoint and then we go breakpoint and just use that same PC, it breaks every frame. So it's running the coin reading, coin processing function every single frame 60 times per second, which makes sense, because if the machine's running and people put coins in, it needs to manage that. So you can see I got rid of, this doesn't match, 78208, 78208. This is the vanilla. This is the change that I made. So this is A5. We can do a little calculate. So I'm on hex. A5 is FF8000. minus 2BA1 is FF545F. If we go to that address, it reads 9 because on every frame I'm moving 9 into this RAM address. So every single frame it's giving 9 coins. And then this below it doesn't match at all because this is stuff that I've added. This is my logic. And then I didn't use all of it, so you can see this is the rest of the coin function. NOP is just don't do anything. So 7824A, this is still coin function, and I just basically noped it all out. So it just doesn't do anything. So I still have a ton of room. And if we go to 7824A in our hex editor, you can see here, this is all the nopes, 4E71, 4E71, and we can see at 78208, we can see this 1B7C0009, so move 9 into, there's a 9 right there, there's a zeros. So this is RTS 4E75, and then this is the beginning of my changes, and then this, I'll show you this code right now. From here to here is this code, and you can see I put the address. This is how I always organize stuff. I name the file where it goes. So if when I assemble this, then I can just go, okay, 7820E, go to 7820E, and that's where I paste. So we can look at this logic. So what are we doing here? So this one is not in here. This is move 9 coins into the coin RAM. Next, so the way this works is they use, like this coding works, is they use some base address and then work off of that base address. So I decided to use FF5400 as a base address because most of the addresses I'm using are related to that. So we're loading the effective address into A0, and so when you're doing work like this, you have to be careful about what registers you use. These are the address registers, A0 through A7, and these are the data registers, D0 through D7. But we know that we're okay to use and overwrite that because in the original coin function, it's loading something to A0, it's loading something to A1, it's moving something to D1, it's modifying D0, move something to Z0. So A0, A1, D0, and D1 are probably safe for me to use. Whereas if after this function it uses what was in that data from before this, then I would have to be more careful and restore it. So anyway, we're putting our base address into A0. So after I hit F11, we're going to increment the PC and we're going to go to 78214, and A0 is going to change. So there it is. Now we're going to move the byte that's at A0 minus 27D into D0. So let's do a calculation. FF5400 minus 27D is that, and then so right now it's 0. So we're moving 0 into D0. So that was this, and now we're comparing it against 02. So if this is 02, that means that we're in the gameplay. We're not in the character select. So if this is equal to 02, then we need to branch down and go down to the gameplay and skip past the character select stuff. So if we are not picking a character, we should leave and go down to gameplay. I should change this note. After the semicolon is just comments, it's not anything that gets executed. So let's see, it's 0 and at D0 is 0, so we're not going to go down there because we're not in gameplay. And if we look at what's going on in the game, we're not in gameplay. This is like the demo. So now we're going to branch. We're not going to branch because D0 is not 2, so we're going to keep going. So now you can see where the assembler that I used, I'm using VASM M68K. It changed my code. So my written code is compare 00 against D0, and it changed it to test this. This test is just does it equal 0, so this is more efficient. I think it uses less bytes. Yeah, this instruction compare immediate uses 1, 2, 3, 4 bytes, while its test uses 2 bytes. So it's just an efficiency thing for the compiler. So is D0 equal to 0? If so, go to 7824A. So are we in character select and picking character 1? So this has two functions. It's 0 if we're in character select and picking character 1. It's 1 if we're in character select and picking character 2, and it's 2 if we're in gameplay. So this is Capcom RAM stuff. I didn't create that. I just found it, digging through the game while it's running and inspecting the RAM and using Ghidra. So if we're in character select and we're picking character 1, we're just going to leave and go out and skip all of this because we don't, or if we're not even in character select at all, we're going to leave. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to go all the way down to 7824A, which is here. So as soon as I hit F11, you're going to see it's going to skip down because we're not doing anything. So this is every frame. I'm hitting F5, and it's every frame it's breaking on that point. So I'm going to do BP dis, breakpoint, disable, and now I'm going to hit start and breakpoint enter, and we'll just go through the same stuff. So D0 is still 0, so we're still going to break even though we're character select. Breakpoint dis, run. I'm going to pick my first character, breakpoint enable. Now when we go down here, test D0, D0 is now 1. So now we're not going to branch down to 7824A. We're going to continue on this path. Switch controls character select. So now this is where this base address is going to come in real handy. So let's take a look. What are we going to do? We're going to move whatever's in A0 19, A0 offset by 19 into D0. So A0 is FF5400 plus 19. Let's see what's in there. It's 0. So FF5419 is the, let me look at my notes. Oops. 19. It's the player 2. So player 2 input joystick and first 3 buttons. So let's see what happens if I breakpoint disable. Let's just go look at this. So I'm going to fiddle with player 2's input, and you can see that it's modifying this RAM address. So back to breakpoint enable. So back to our code. So this is player 2's current input that the game is reading. So we're moving that to D0, and right now it's 0 because I haven't done any input. So if I did like breakpoint 78220 D0 does not equal 00, breakpoint disable 1. Now this will only break if I actually that's not what I want. It has to be after. I chose the wrong breakpoint. I chose too early. It should be at like a 2.6. Now D0, maybe it has, because this F is in here, maybe. Breakpoint disable 3, run it. Okay, now it breaks when I move player 2's joystick. Also, we're going to run out of room here. So let me do this to give myself. This is for during the game. This is the timer, so I'm going to do FF for the maximum possible time. So now this says 6, it's going to go away. So now it's counting down from this, so we have plenty of time now to do what we need to do. Okay, so back to where we were. Breakpoint enable 1. So that's where we were. So we moved player 2's input into D0, then we moved D0 into player 1's input. So we're copying from P2's input to P1's input, overwriting it. So P1's input disappears. And then same thing. So this is for player 2's joystick and first 3 buttons. This is for player 2's second 3 buttons, and this is player 1's second 3 buttons. So that's all done now. And now following that, we do this we move to gameplay section. So we're done with character select. So now we're going to move whatever's in A0 FF5400 minus 11E0. So that's a 0. We're going to move that into D0. We're going to test it. So my compare got converted by the assembler into a test. If we're in gameplay and it's character, so this byte in RAM is 0 if you're not in the game. It's 1 if you're in the game and you're as character 1, and it's something else if you're character 2. Probably 2, maybe 3, I forget. It's in my notes. So we're testing it. If it's 0, if we're playing as character 1, then we just exit. We don't need to change the controls. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to exit and we're going to skip. So this is an exact copy of the code that was up here. Switch controls character select, switch controls gameplay. It's the same code. I could probably figure out a way to reuse this, but it's not that many bytes. And as you saw, I have plenty of room. So just whatever. It's inefficient, but that's life. So we're going to skip. And I mean, we're not even in the gameplay right now, so that doesn't get affected at all. But if, let's see what happens. Breakpoint disable. Run it. Okay, now I'm using player 2's control, selecting Cami. We're going to go into the game. And now breakpoint enable. Okay, breakpoint. I'm going to change this breakpoint so we don't have to skip past through so much stuff. So where was that? Oh. Unpause. So we can change our breakpoint to be like 78236, so we don't have to go through so much stuff. Because you see, here is the NOP. That's the end. That's exit. So here again, we're testing D0, and it's 00. So I'm going to disable breakpoint 5, play the game, switch to my other character, breakpoint enable 5, and now D0 is 1. So now Cami is my second character. And now this RAM address, also set up by Capcom, I didn't implement this, although I could if I needed to. It's now 0. It's now 1. So when we test, the flag gets turned on, and we are branching if it's equal, and it's not equal because D0 does not equal to 0. So we're going to continue and do the switching controls code. So again, it's going to be impossible for you to verify this by watching this video, but I am pressing player 1's controls and nothing's happening. Now I'm pressing player 2's controls and I'm in control of the character. Now if I switch back, oh, I have to use Cami's. Fuck. There we go. Okay, so now I'm back to using player 1's controls. So that's all done. I guess that's pretty much it. And you can see I just changed the text. I didn't even put Bank Bank here. So it just says co-op there. And if you're in free play, it shows the demo. And then you can start it up. And if you are not in free play, I'll just show you that real quick. So I just went to default. If you're not in free play, it automatically goes to press start screen because it puts in 9 coins immediately, because of the code that is here. Where is it? What's a 4E75 is the end. Find. I guess it's this, and then so 78208. If we do breakpoint 78208, so that's the RTS right there, and then this is the code that is not in here. I did it before I did all this, because you have to do this stuff in steps. So we're moving 9 coins into this RAM address that holds the coins. So if you're not on free play, it's always going to be stuck on this screen. And then so I changed the text here. It says press start to begin co-op. So as I said, I'll just go back over what I'm still planning on doing. So I have to say I'm pleased that this hack was so quick. It only took like 4 or 5 hours thus far. Although the way these things go, it's probably going to take longer for me to implement this stuff with the cursor than it is to do the actual logic. That's how it goes in these things. So again, just to reiterate, let me put some coins in. This is vanilla. I want this player 2's cursor to show up when the second player is picking character 2 on the team. So the P1 cursor will disappear. This one will appear in that place. So I'm just figuring out how to do that right now. Like, I'm making a bunch of notes. As you can see, this is like cursor stuff. Trying to figure out how it works. I found some stuff in Ghidra. Cursor toggle drawing for player 2 cursor. Blah blah blah. So shouldn't take that long, and then I'll give this hack to the nice people at FBNEO, and they can add it officially to FBNEO, and then I can ask POF to add it to the Fightcade, because this will be fun. People can play a little 2-player. Oh, shout out to whoever made this Xcopy program so I can encrypt and decrypt. So this is part of my process. So I assemble the code here, and then this is the assembled. So this is the written assembly code, and this is the actual output. You can see here it says 74 bytes, and this is length 4A in hex is probably 74. Let's see, 4A 74. So I just copy this, and I go 7820E, and then Control B, not Control V, Control B to paste over. And then I do Xcopy to encrypt, because I'm using, this is the decrypted CPS2 ROM. I need to re-encrypt it. And then I drag and drop the file, the re-encrypted file, into the ROM, and then I run. It's just debug, sound off, smaller window, cheats. I couldn't get the cheat file to work for some stupid reason. Even though it's in the proper directory, it doesn't show up. But for anybody that's trying to do hacks like these cheat files, so this is .main, this is my main cheats directory where other cheats go, but it doesn't work for this file for some reason. If you're starting on a ROM hack, this can be really handy for finding out addresses of where things are, general areas. I mean, you can see there's a lot of variation between some of these addresses are FF5. These are all RAM addresses. Oh no, this is not RAM, this is ROM. FF5, FF4, FF4, FF5. So you can see, like, if you were starting a new hack for this game, this would give you a head start by just, you would know you can look in this region instead of having to like start a bunch of tracing through input. So anyway, that is all I've got to say about that. And while I've got you here, I would like to plug my new game coming out on Steam May 10. This is a Mega Drive Sega Genesis game coming out on Steam, and it's got a collection of 100 monsters for you to collect. It's going to be $3, normally $5, but it's coming out at a discount of 40% to start. And so it's got 3 sizes of it's got 2-player co-op, it's got endless and time attack, it's got 2 different sets of music, and the gameplay is, it's heavily inspired by Cleopatra Fortune. You make connections, like you block in these gems, and then that makes them disappear. So it's a fun game if you like Tetris kind of games. It's a lot of fun. I think it's very well put together. And if you want to support me in my ROM hacking, it would be great if you bought it. So the game name is Amshay, and it's coming out on Steam May 10, and I would really appreciate it if you would wishlist it and pick it on up. And more ROM hacks will be coming. I'm still working on Third Strike widescreen, so keep your eyes peeled. It's going to take me a while, because there's still, like, I fixed the hit point bars, and I've gotten so much progress done, but there's still so much left to do. Now I have to fix the backgrounds, and there's a couple characters whose moves bounce off the wall that I have to fix. So that's still coming, but this was like a nice quick one. And I might do another one of these for Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. I just did this one first because this game, like Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, has assists where it's basically like Marvel 2 style assists, So I would have to kind of remove that function, I think, which is a shame. I'll show you the hack again one more time for X-Men vs. Street Fighter. So player 1 selects character 1. Now player 1's controls don't work anymore, and now it's time for player 2 to select. And that's all we got. Thank you very much for watching, folks.